Let's talk about this first story. We got this from blick.ch. Due to compulsory vaccination from February, Austria is looking for people to control those who refuse to be vaccinated. Anyone who does not want to be vaccinated in Austria from February 2022 must expect a fine. Employees should ensure the fines are paid. That is why we are now looking for inspectors. I must stress, we used Google Translate, so some of these words may not get the full and correct meaning across. But my understanding is, look at this. The vaccination inspectors receive a wage of at least 2,744 euros, or about 28.80 francs. They say Linz now wants to engage people who are supposed to control vaccination refusals, as reported today. They should check whether those who do not get vaccinated are really paying for it, translation error, because whoever does not get vaccinated will be asked to pay up to 3,600 euro, the equivalent of a good 3,740 francs. Well, history repeats itself, I suppose.
Some people call them inspectors. I think hunters is a better, more appropriate term here. Statist hunters, going after, individuals who believe in bodily autonomy. Now, this is, again, according to a lot of local news reports coming out of Austria. They're talking about how they're going to be paying people nearly $40,000 a year to do this job, how the fines could range a couple $1,000s, of course, a couple €1,000. But this, again, goes along with the decree that they're going to be pushing forward in February that pretty much outlaws individuals who are not vaccinated, which is absolutely crazy. Germany has talked about imposing similar measures themselves. Their health minister recently said that they want to implement mandatory vaccinations on everyone. Austria's doing it. How this policy will be implemented, it's going to be nasty. It's going to be disgusting because people are going to be called up. People are going to be investigated. People are going to be spied on, tracked, traced, and databased and said, hey, did you take the shot? And they're going to have to say no. And then the government's going to come with jackboot thugs and say, you're going to give us money or you're going to go to jail. You have a choice, which is crazy.
But regardless of how the policy actually gets activated, what are the people going to do? The people that are still unvaccinated in Austria, are they going to acquiesce in large numbers? Or are they going to fight back? What do you think is going to happen over there?
I think.
What would you do?
I'm not going to do that. Yeah. I'm not going to be forced to do anything. I'm not going to be forced to say something I don't want to say or do something I want to do. Period.
Yeah.
Like, that's just my personality.
I agree.
Yeah. So the local reports that we're also hearing about is that they will be working with employers and saying that they will be denying them paychecks or taking their paychecks away from them. And pressuring them to do this that way. So, obviously, I wouldn't.
What if they
with this.
can't get the vaccine? What if they can't get it
for medical or religious reasons?
If you've received, let's say you're an older person, you've received monoclonal antibodies, you can't get it for 90 days. So, what do they do? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your reason is.
Yeah.
So here's what I'll add to this. Right. What we saw last year is Europe started doing these lockdowns, then the U.S. started picking them up. We started seeing Europe locking down again. Now we've got all these major cities in the U.S. doing it. Boston's doing it. Chicago's announcing it. And I'm actually headed back to Chicago. I'm like, oh, man, I don't even know if I want to go.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
Yeah, because they have mask mandates, and now they're saying they want a vaccine mandate for all restaurants. And I'm like, I'm supposed to go there for the holidays? Why would I want to go give money to a place like that or be involved in a place like that? Out in West Virginia, none of that. People walk around doing whatever they want. Not only do you not have to wear a mask, you can carry a gun.
Oh.
Yeah, Illinois is the opposite of that. You go to jail and you'll get fined. And so they're saying now, I think they're going to implement a vaccine mandate for indoor dining. And like some restaurant association in Chicago is saying, wait until after the holidays because we want to make money. So here's what I think. We're seeing this in Austria. We're seeing it in Germany. We're seeing it escalate. And they're ahead of us. I think it's very likely we will get to this point in the United States very soon.
Well, one thing that I've been kind of making the point about is that a lot of these restrictions, a lot of these mandates all kind of come in steps, and we're seeing the steps followed almost identically, but under different names all around the world. So obviously Austria kind of is leading the pack here, but what is happening in Austria is going to be happening with the rest of the world. We saw Australia kind of lead the world with their insanity. The other places are going to be following suit with very similar policies as well. We just saw Boston implement their, quote, Be Together initiative, which is absolutely draconian, Orwellian, and insane. It's like calling, the Patriot Act patriotic, when it absolutely wasn't. It does the exact opposite of that.
Doesn't it just feel good to be a face in the crowd of people with pitchforks and torches, mindlessly marching along and demanding everyone else capitulate and march alongside the state? Doesn't it just feel good, right? Come on, everyone wants to do that.
You're basically saying suffer as I suffer.
Yeah.
Yeah, join the club.
Yeah.
If I have to deal with this, so do you.
If
That's
I have
the
to take
weirdest
a
thing.
risk, you do as well, which is absolutely crazy.
That's exactly right.
Absolutely insane. And again, their quote Be Together initiative is literally requiring vaccine passports for indoor activities, which is predominantly going to be discriminating against black people in this country.
I'm
which
with
is
Shep.
crazy.
I'm with Shep Smith.
Yep.
I don't care. I don't want to talk about it anymore. What was that clip?
He said, maybe I'm just better getting Omicron. I can't remember saying it. Omicron. He's just like, maybe
it's
I'm just better
Omicron,
getting
but
it.
for Biden's sake, we'll call it Omicron. That way,
Yeah.
it's like I was told this when I was in Catalonia in like Barcelona. They said that they have the Catalan lisp, where like in Spanish, instead of saying cerveza, they say cerveza. Barcelona. And they said, so it was funny because I was in Spain. There was a guy, I'm talking to these guys, and I said, I've never been to Barcelona. And he goes, Barcelona. And I went, oh, it's Barcelona. And he goes, yes. And another guy was like, no, it's Barcelona. And I was like, which one is it? Well, apparently, here's the legend. There was a king or something who had a lisp. So everyone wanted to be high status. So they started speaking with a lisp because it was, prestigious. So that's why we call it Omicron, because
That's right.
because Biden is the epitome of prestige.
Yes.
So
Omicron is much easier to say.
But anyway, I interrupted you. Shep Smith went off.
He just said it. He's literally thinking that it might just be better off for him. He's triple vaxxed, he said, to just get Omicron. He's like, just give it to me so I can move on with my life. I don't want to see it reported. Coming from a corporate press broadcaster, he doesn't want to see it reported. He's at his wit's end, just like Jim Cramer. He had a similar rant.
Anti-vaxxers.
Yeah,
That's the only explanation.
yeah, of
That
course.
must be it, yeah.
Well, a lot of people are having fatigue just hearing about this nonstop, and that's because the government has been kind of beating this thing over the head, exploiting it to the fullest extent, trying to squeeze the lemon to the last drop, and people are like, we get it, we got it. And again, how much sensationalistic fear-mongering nonsense can you throw at them before they're like, we don't care, we don't give a damn.
That's so funny you say anti-vaxxers, because it reminds me of this old saying in the theater: if you scratch an actor, you'll see an actress. If you scratch a vaxxer, you'll see an anti-vaxxer.
What does that mean?
It's basically just like if you bring any kind of actors are supposedly very sensitive. You think of somebody like Ian, very sensitive guy. You scratch them, they'll turn into an actress. So if you scratch or confuse or harm a vaxxer, somebody that's triple vaxxed and they think they're really safe, then you're going to see the anti-vaxxer just explode out. of them.
I'm just saying this. I'm saying, if the vaccine works, and they all say it does, then these people are lying and they didn't get the vaccine.
Oh.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and it's funny too, because I think we mentioned this yesterday. How many times did viral videos go around where they're like, look, Nancy Pelosi's not really getting vaccinated or whatever?
Yeah.
Everybody was accusing these people of not really getting the vaccine. And many of these people were saying they weren't going to get it on Twitter because they were like, Trump's vaccine, I won't do it. Now all of a sudden they're getting sick. I'm like, just call them anti-vaxxers, period. Because they clearly lied about getting the vaccine. Now, I don't know if they actually did or not. I know efficacy wanes. You're supposed to get boosters and all that stuff, but I got no problem just saying these people are I'm gonna operate under the assumption that they just lied about getting vaccinated.
Well, the other explanation to this is that there's a conspiracy, and yeah, there's that explanation.
I don't think there's I think you know what I think? I think there's like a million micro conspiracies. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think we're gonna find out the truth in a couple of years from now, and I think we're going to be shocked about what really was going on today.
This is how it always happens with history. I think, how long did they say the Gulf of Tonkin was a conspiracy theory? The Gulf of Tonkin incident? The conspiracy theory being that that America basically staged the attack so we could, enter Vietnam. And I remember hearing about how it was a conspiracy theory up until even like only a few years ago, and they were like, oh yeah, actually the U.S. did stage that. So there's tons of stuff throughout history that is purposely obfuscated, and then later on when you find out what really happened, you're like, wow.
So how much longer until we actually get the unredacted documents from the Kennedy assassination?
Well, the FDA is waiting 75 years to release the clinical studies about the Pfizer vaccine data.
Oh, I heard they walked it back to 55 years because they were feeling more confident in their product.
Either way, they have the data, and they say they need decades to procure it, even though it's already procured and ready to go. But for our well-being and understanding, they don't need any liability, and they don't need to present it until 55 years from now, which is...
I bet a lot of UFO stories was just U.S. military drone research. How hard would it be for the military to create a quadcopter, in the 70s or 80s? They could probably do it. And that explains why people were saying they saw discs zipping back and forth and moving really crazy, Because if you ever watched like pro high-powered drones, these things go nuts the way they can move so rapidly.
And the German military during World War II was also working on saucer-like flying devices as well. So there's even photos of some that look eerily similar to what some people call, of course, UFOs. So there's a lot of probabilities. There's a lot of things that, of course, we don't know about because the government is being extremely secretive. They're hiding a lot of data. They're hiding a lot of important information from the general public as they're telling you, trust us, give us your freedom, give us your economic opportunities, give us your life, but we're not going to show you anything on our end, and that's disgusting.
You know, it'd be really funny. There are two different scenarios that I find would be really funny. One is that everything the government says is completely true. Like, it really was a weird-shaped cloud that descended, hovered, spun in a circle, and then darted off. It really was a cloud. Believe us. Why won't you believe us? Or it's just like, it's so far beyond what anyone actually thinks it is. And what's really happening in the government and like with aliens is just, it's like not aliens. It's just something completely ridiculous that no one would ever like theorize about. But I actually think like the funniest scenario is the government's telling the truth. Because that implies honesty among the government and a lack of any like intent for like military technology to be,
and that they're competent. That's another aspect.
That scenario got the biggest laugh in the room.
Yeah.
They're actually telling the truth. Yeah.
They're like,
it's so absurd to consider. Yeah.
The UFO everyone saw was actually a weather phenomenon, and then everyone's like, that's a lie. And this poor guy, he's like sitting in his office and he's crying. And it's like, actually is a weather phenomenon.
Who made that famous joke being like, you don't believe in any conspiracies? You think the government is always honest? That they're batting 1,000? Like, you think they're always right? Like, are you crazy?
Yeah.
Like, there's no way logically you could even think that they're always honest. They're always, and it's just, you must be crazy if you really think that.
But a lot of lefties do think that now, which is so crazy compared to like the 60s version of the lefty,
Right.
which was anti-establishment, question everything, don't trust the government, don't trust the letter agency.
Free speech no matter what.
Even 10 years ago. Yeah, that's true.
Occupy Wall Street was like, Obama and Biden are liars.
Yeah, don't trust the big banks. Don't trust big pharma.
Luke, the DNC and the RNC for the 2016 cycle, where was the bigger protest?
At the Democrats.
It was the Democrats.
Yep.
It was like over 1,000 people. And they were trying to jump the fence and they were shaking the fence. The RNC had almost nobody.
Well, the Bernie bros were pretty pissed off that they were getting railroaded by Clinton.
Isn't this the perfect way to understand like the space we're in? So there was this guy who did a review of YouTube channels. He was like tracking who was influencing who. And then he called my channel at the time, not Timcast IRL because it didn't exist. He said exclusively critical of left.
What?
And he said the same thing about Dave Rubin and a few other people. And I said, isn't it possible that we're just centrists criticizing the more extreme? And so he changed it, some people to like center, and he got rid of the category. But here's a really good example of where we are. In the 2016 DNC RNC cycle, nobody protested the Republicans. There was a small handful, kind of. Thousands of people descended on the DNC and tried breaking down the barricades and hopping in and getting into the DNC. That's like, there you go. People don't like the Democratic Party. People didn't care a whole lot about Trump for the most part. Now I guess they kind of went nuts in the last cycle, though,
Well, this is why everyone thinks it's so crazy that Biden won as many votes as he did, which I do think that you're right that Trump was anti-elected, but to look around and be like all the people on the streets in New York City saying stuff like, screw Joe Biden is very telling. Those are just normal people walking by a news reporter and they're like, man, that guy sucks.
I think a lot of people are having a rude wake-up call. I wonder how many people are going through cognitive dissonance where it's like they weren't politically active.
Right.
They voted for Joe Biden. And now everything the Trump supporters said would happen is happening, and they have to reconcile that. Some people don't want to do it, but a lot of moderate people are like, yo, I will take a ham sandwich over Joe Biden at this point. This dude. Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to watch live, you can check out this channel Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and if you want more unfiltered and uncensored content with all of these guests, go to timcast.com and become a member. All of these guests you know and love in exclusive segments on our website where we are unrestricted in what we talk about, so you'll definitely not want to miss it. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all next time.